The next piece Prerana will perform is Jhansi Ki Rani. This piece, originally composed by Subhadra Kumari Chauhan, uses excerpts from the famous poem in Hindi that describes the Rani of Jhansi. Ranjini Aunty will now like to say a few words about the piece.
Thank you, Mansi. This piece by this poem has served as an inspiration, of course, not only for me, but I think for Indians at large. This poet herself was actually pretty early 20th century, and I think was a feminist and activist in her own self. The story of Jhansi Ki Rani actually was not very well known, and also there are not really monuments to this great freedom fighter, and kind of this poem brought to awareness the work of the Rani of Jhansi. And in fact, she keeps talking about it in this poem that we know of her. Tera koi smarak nahi hai. We don't have any memorials to you, but we have heard the storytellers, the Bundele, they talked about you because they talked about her in this poem. And it is through this poem that we really know this great Rani of Jhansi. The poem is very long, but we have picked a few verses to show that great lady who became famous as the Rani of Jhansi. So it is said that in 1857, there was this lot of chaos going on. People knew that lost freedom, what it meant to lose freedom. And so many of the kingdoms started thinking, what can they do? And it is said, Bude Bharat, in that old nation of India, the swords came out and new energy, Nai Javani, came up. And it is said that at the time, this young lady actually was born in a home as a princess, and it is said she always liked to be a warrior princess. In fact, you know, doing all these kinds of war games was like for khilwad, you know, plaything for her. She always liked to do this, breaking forts and things like that. And then she came to Jhansi as the bride. She got married and came to Jhansi. Unfortunately, her husband died, and when he died, the Britishers, Mr. Dalhousie, thought this is a good time to grab the kingdom. And when he started doing that, she saw that everything was burning. Jhansi was burning. People were suffering. And she decided to take matters into her own hands and started the fight. In the fight, of course, not only she, but many, many different Marathas were part of it. I think at that time those kingdoms were called Maratha kingdoms. And in fact, she worshipped Bhavani, the Kuladevi of the Marathas. And it is actually very interesting that Prerana's own Kuladevi is also Tulja Bhavani. So it's a very special piece for her. And in the end, of course, the Rani did not live. But it is always said that she was such an amazing mother and a warrior that she carried her child at the back and then went to fight. Immaterial of what happened, she has become that memento, or she has become that symbol actually of what freedom means. And we Kritagya Bharatvasi, we are really grateful to this great Jhansi Ki Rani for bringing freedom to us. We shall remember her for all the time. It's a piece we have put together thanks to these wonderful musicians. So would love to hear from you what you think.